In injury time at Old Trafford, Romelu Lukaku received the ball with his back to goal, turned and powered away upfield. It was a pressure-relieving moment for Manchester United as they hung on to their lead, but it was also symbolic. It was a sign of what the Belgian can do, and if we feel we don't see enough of it, then maybe we can say the same about Jose Mourinho's United team also. This was a win that United deserved.A goal down in the first half and second best in most areas at that stage. United's grip on second place in the Premier League and indeed on their own confidence seemed to be growing weaker. Chelsea's Willian had made the most of a number of mistakes in the United midfield, the first of them by Paul Pogba to race away and thunder a shot through David Gigi after half an hour. But from that point on, United found something of their true selves to recover and prosper. Mourinho's team, with Lukaku leading them on, showed glimpses of how they can play when the mood takes them, and ultimately it proved enough. They were maybe a little fortunate with 5 minutes to go when Alvaro Morata drove the ball in from a tight angle. Chelsea's Spanish striker looked offside and was flagged offside.However, replays suggested otherwise. But this was maybe some good luck. United had earned.Their equalizer not long before halftime was a lovely goal. Lukaku started and finished it, and it served to liberate United.The home team did not go on to overpower Chelsea. The second half was tight, and there were few chances.But United did grow stronger as Chelsea seemed to tire, and when Lukaku crossed well towards substitute Jesse Lingard with 15 minutes left, he escaped his marker to direct a header into the corner at the Stretford End. For Mourinho, there will be some satisfaction in beating Chelsea manager Antonio Conte. The two men do not like each other.For the record, the managers shook hands relatively cordially at the start and the end of the game. More importantly, though, this result should serve to remind people, including some of Mourinho's own players, that United remain very capable indeed. These teams had contrasting European performances in the week, and that was reflected by how they began here. Chelsea, impressive at home against Barcelona, were out of the blocks quickly, while United, flat in drawing in Seville, took some time to find their way into the game. Chelsea could actually have taken the lead in the 4th minute. The volleyed cross from Marcos Alonso on the right was unusual but effective and accurate. And when Chris Smalling slipped over at the near post, Alvaro Morata was able to side-foot a volley against the bar at the Stretford End. It was a good effort by the Spaniard as the ball was arriving at some pace. 6 inches lower, and it would have been in. Chelsea eventually had to wait half an hour to take the lead, but during that time they largely the better team. Conte had left Cesc Fabregas on the bench to give N'Golo Kante a more defensive midfield partner in Danny Drinkwater. Chelsea were still progressive, though, with both wing-backs getting forward, not only to place United under pressure, but also to prevent United's own full-backs getting forward on the overlap. For a while this game simmered without really coming to life. Chelsea enjoyed possession, but too much was breaking down on the edge of the United area. United, for their part, only really got started as an attacking threat once 20 minutes or so had passed, and it was shortly after that improvement that Chelsea actually scored. Alexis Sanchez had just missed United's best chance of the opening half hour, failing to apply a firm enough touch to Anthony Martial's sharp low pass from the left when Chelsea broke to take the lead from deep within their own half. With Pogba playing as part of a three-man attack behind Lukaku, the Frenchman had largely been freed of the defensive responsibilities that he tends to struggle with. But still, it was a Pogba error on the edge of the Chelsea box that allowed the London club to break and score. Pogba must have 3 inches at least on Chelsea wing-back Victor Moses, but was still outjumped, and that enabled the visitors to break upfield devastatingly. Willian has been in super form recently, and when he picked up possession and fed Eden Hazard, he was able to sprint beyond the United defense to take the return pass. The angle on the right was slightly against Willian as he ran into the penalty area, and one wondered if he would attempt to feed Morata on his left. Maybe that was on David De Gea's mind too, as when the shot eventually arrived at his near side, he for once seemed slightly taken aback and the ball flew past him with power. It was a goal that Chelsea deserved on the whole, and for a few minutes United were vulnerable. Both Hazard and Alonso, who was getting far too much space down the left, had opportunities to shoot from inside the penalty area, and it was to United's credit that they managed to eventually respond the way they did. The equalizer was a superb goal too. Lukaku did well to hold off Kante with his back to goal on the edge of the penalty area, and he laid the ball back to Sanchez. The Chilean played it forwards to Martial in the box, who showed great control to slide it sideways to Lukaku, who finished after taking a neat touch from 11 yards. It was a lovely goal, and it felt important at the time. United were able to go in at half-time on terms when it seemed as though they wouldn't. There was a half chance for Hazard just before the interval, but the Belgian chose to lay the ball back to Alonso, who could only scoop it over. At this point it was not Hazard's afternoon. As he had been against Barcelona in midweek, Willian was showing himself to be Chelsea's best player. A dart past red shirts from deep in the opening 2 minutes of the second half allowed him to send Morata away down the left. Morata was past the last defender, but the angle was not favorable. Briefly he seemed to consider something audacious, but instead he cut back onto his right foot, and his shot was blocked by a covering defender. Drinkwater was the next player to test De Gea, who was now peering into a low winter sun without asking for a cap. Drinkwater's shot came from 25 yards and was dipping towards De Gea's feet, which perhaps accounted for the United goalkeeper's failure to hold the ball. The rebound looked dangerous, but the ball was cleared before Chelsea players could follow up. As the second half progressed, chances were increasingly at a premium. United did carry a latent threat when they got forward, something that increased once Jesse Lingard replaced Martial with just over 25 minutes, and they produced the moment of the match in the 67th minute when Sanchez's cross enabled Lukaku to launch a scissor kick towards the roof of the net. Thibaut Courtois touched the ball over for a corner which came to nothing. Hazard's afternoon didn't survive beyond the 73rd minute when he was replaced by Pedro. By now United were looking the more likely winners of the two teams. And indeed they took the lead with 15 minutes left. Lukaku has proved himself a decent supply line at times this season, and it was his cross that found it was to Lingard. The United substitute was being marked by Andreas Christensen, but the Chelsea defender seemed to doze off as the ball arrived, and Lingard was able to head past Courtois to the goalkeeper's left. It was Lingard's 13th goal of the season and was timely for himself and his team. He has found himself the odd one out since Sanchez arrived, and if the young Englishman is not to find himself in the cold, he may need to keep handing his manager reminders like this. Now chasing the game, Kante threw on Olivier Giroud and Fabregas. Chelsea had looked leggy in the second half, and it was hard not to wonder if these changes should not have come slightly earlier. United had 10 minutes to hold out and did so. Morata had the ball in the net with 5 minutes left but was flagged offside and looked at. However, replays suggested it may have been the wrong call. A day that started very well for Conte and Chelsea had subsequently gone downhill rather fast